Good afternoon, everyone. Warm welcome to today's webinar on Communication in 6. My name is Gyan Krishna. I'm the National Sales Manager for TVET at Macmillan. We are delighted to be hosting today's webinar in which the changes to the curriculum will be unpacked by our presenter, and she will also help you prepare to teach the curriculum in 2022. Our sales team have visited your campuses with approved sample copies and will be calling again early in November. Please ensure you get your copy, and this time around we've got a full color copy, so it makes it quite attractive. In the chat, I've provided a link to the ebook so you can have a look at the color copy whilst you wait for the print copy to arrive at your campus. The platform we're using today is the GoToWebinar, and on the right you'll find a control panel. You're welcome to post your questions, and our presenter will tackle this at the end of the presentation. So just a bio on our presenter. Her name is Catherine Shuttleworth. She's the AD for Curriculum Services at Mbiti TVET. She has vast experience, totaling 22 years in the TVET sector, having specialized in communication and information processing. She's been involved in teaching Report 191 and NCV programs. She's a subject specialist for DHET, a national marker for communication N5 and N6, and she's co-authored the Information Processing N6 TVET First new book. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's session, and I'm sure you're going to gain tremendously from Catherine's expertise and experience. So it's over to Catherine.
Thank you very much, Gan, and a warm welcome to everybody who is attending this webinar. We are very excited about the implementation that is coming from the communication platform. As Gan has already said, I have had 22 years experience within the teaching sector. I started in 1999 and have taught in the various programs and the various subjects that have come our way. English and typing or information processing being the two common subjects that I have specialized in over the last 22 years. In this webinar, I would like to briefly review and discuss the new curriculum outcomes for the Communication N6, and then discuss how this is going to affect the learning content for your academic year and your assessments, and then show you how the Communication N6 Macmillan TVET First book is going to support your teaching all the way. As you may know, the TVET curriculum for many of the subjects have been reviewed and updated by the DHET, and a lot of them have had implementations happening from the beginning of this year, and I see a lot are going to be implemented as of next year as well. What I would like to do is have a look at the changes that have been made for the communication and what we can expect going forward as lecturers in this sector. The general aims remain the same for communication. We want to equip the learners with the necessary knowledge, let it be theoretical, and skills, let it be practical, of both verbal and non-verbal communication. And we want to train them to function effectively and professionally in the business world. Knowledge and practice of acceptable norms and ethics applicable in the working environment in terms of self-development, interpersonal relationships, and social interaction. We're going to ensure that the necessary oral and listening skills to facilitate successful interpersonal and social interaction, and to cultivate critical thinking when approaching different communication situations in the workplace. To approach these situations objectively and to act proficiently and professionally in order to enhance the image of the company or the business that they are going to be working for. The general aims of the curriculum is to make sure that our knowledge and skills are there. Again, I want to just mention that many of the companies that we have spoken to have said that they are looking for students who have values and norms. So we need to make sure that we are imparting these specific aims into our learners. Now, the specific aims of the particular curriculum at the moment is to increase the awareness of the students regarding the influence of motivation on communication and on productivity in the workplace. It's very important to prepare our students for what they are going to be faced with, and that motivation is something that needs to be cultivated to ensure that they are happy in the workplace that they are found in. We need to help the students to acquire the ability to act responsibly in the decision-making process. One of the problems that we have noticed with a lot of our students coming through the TVET sector at the moment is that they don't really understand the concept of responsibility. So it's up to the colleges to instill this value into them before they go into the working environment. We need to make the students aware of the possibility of conflict in a work situation and to familiarize them with ways to cope with conflict. Conflict management is something that all of us know is an asset to have when you are in a less than ideal working environment. So we need to make sure that our students, when they are there, know exactly how to deal with the conflict situation and how to cope in it. We need to introduce the students to the possible symptoms of stress and the results of stress on the work situation, and also give them the tools to cope with and to combat stress. I read a quote yesterday that says, stress is when we are forced to do something we don't like. Passion is when we are forced to do something that we love. And I think we need to make sure that our students understand that we are wanting passionate people in the sector. One of the other things that has been brought to our attention with a lot of the industries is they have said to us that our students do not know how to cope in an interview process and what is expected of them. And small things that they have mentioned to us are things like the way that they are seated. The ladies wearing tops that are way too low and showing everybody what they've got. And we need to make sure that we are 100% ready with our students when they exit, that they will be able to deal with the various questions that are asked in an interview situation, and so that they can understand the different types of interviews that are coming through. Right. The specific aims of the curriculum again are continued. Your concise communication is still there. Your business communication, goodwill correspondence, reports, meeting correspondence, press releases, programs, graphic communication, and electronic communication. They're all still very, very viable and very relevant to today's society. Again, I'm going to mention with the curriculum for communication, to make your life easier as a lecturer, link it to the information processing syllabus. So sit down with the information processing lecturers and work your schedule of work around what they are doing, so that when you are teaching the various curriculum communication concepts, your concise, your business, your goodwill, reports, meeting, and all of that, that you are reinforcing what they are learning. So get the communication can do the theoretical side of it, and then obviously your information processing can do the actual practical side of it. The overview for the changes to the curriculum for 2021, the syllabus has been revised and updated. All the learning outcomes have been renumbered in the syllabus. There are a few new learning outcomes. Modern terminology has been introduced throughout the curriculum, meaning that the old, I want to say outdated or archaic language has been removed. So it's more relevant to our students with what they are facing with the fourth industrial revolution. And by the time they graduate, we'll be in the fifth or sixth industrial revolution. They brought in modern terminology that goes with electronic mass media and social media, because a lot of them are going to be expected to work on these platforms. The modules that are now covered in the 2021 curriculum, Module 1 is motivation, problem solving and decision making, and Module 2, coping with conflict. I love this chapter. When I read it, it helped me so much with the coping with conflict and coping with stress. I actually wanted to get these specific chapters for our lecturers and for our staff members just to assist them. The interviews are more relevant. The module on the interviews, which is fantastic. And then your module 6 is your language usage. Module 7, we've still got our favorites, concise communication. Module 8, business letter. Module 9, this is where we need to spend a little bit of more time equipping our students. A lot of industry has said to us that when they are taking a management assistant student, it is mainly to assist them with their meeting correspondence, meaning their agenda, their notice of a meeting, and then obviously their minutes of a meeting. And they said this is one of the biggest places where our students fall short, not understanding the language, direct and indirect and third person that needs to go in, for example, the minutes of a meeting. Our reports are still there, so we're looking at the various reports. And then Module 11, the critical evaluation of written, visual, and oral communication material. So a lot of the stuff is still exactly the same, but there are tweaks that have been made. Now, the weighting of the cognitive levels, this is very important. When you are setting up your test and when you are doing your assessment analysis, this is literally how you need to have a look at the type of questions that you are asking. In paper 1, with your correspondence and your concise, 10 to 20% of your mark allocation needs to be on knowledge. 30 to 50%, which is quite a high amount, is on application and comprehension. The reason it's so high is because so many of our learners are going to be given instructions and are going to have to apply the instructions given to them. And then 30 to 40% is literally on analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. In the theory, it is more reasonably spaced out. Knowledge is 20 to 30, application and comprehension is 20 to 40%, and then the same obviously goes for analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Just interesting to actually compare them. The weighting of the subjects, so obviously if you have a look at the weighting, you have 65% of your syllabus is actually dedicated to letters, the writing of letters, reports, and meeting correspondence. This is definitely in line with what is going on in the corporate world. Because as I said to you earlier, this is what they are looking for. They are actually looking for students who can apply the information that they are needed to do in meeting correspondence, specifically looking at minutes. In paper 2, your weighting, again, very, very even if you have a look at it. Now, your module 1, what's come in is the Hertzberg's two-factor theory, which is a lot more interesting than Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The idea that is added is the deficiency in growth and internal motivation, which is great. And what's also being added in this section is pre-conscious motives in the nature of motive and needs, which is quite interesting. Right, in module 1, as I've just spoken about, this is your motivation, specifically paper 2, your theory. There is almost no confidence and trust in employees, replaces the condescending confidence in it. The new section that's being brought in is the leadership styles, the autocratic, consultative, democratic, participative, democratic, laissez-faire or free reign, and added to supervision, feedback to subordinates, scheduling and regulating and monitoring tasks. Also, what's been added to positive results of satisfaction and needs, improved and better communication leading to an environment with more harmony. Very interesting. Module 2, your problem solving, your topic weighting is 20. You'll find this in paper 2. What has been added to your alternative solutions is your standard or obvious solutions, creative solutions, relying on expertise, drawing on past situation, and your brainstorming sessions. I really enjoy this, that they've added these things, because it really helps when you are facing a problem and needing to understand how it's going to fold out. In Module 3, the traditional view of conflict has been added. Working conditions are spelled out as unfair labor practice, unrealistic work practices, and unrealistic workloads, and carrying on like that. What's also what's been brought into this, which is great, is the bullying and harassment has been added as causes of conflict. And as we know, with cyber stalking and bullying, it's becoming more and more common to find people who are experiencing bullying and harassment in the workplace, let it be over social media or face-to-face. The approaches to coping with conflict have been grouped into personal lifestyle approach, general workplace approach, and then the formal third-party resolution. Competing, compromising, and collaborating have been added. There's a new subsection of informal mechanisms for solving conflict, negotiations, consultation, and persuasion, which is also, it's great to actually read through this. Coping with stress, they've put it into your paper 2, your theory. It's such an important section, as people do not know how to deal with stress, nor do they realize the effects of stress on a person's performance in the workplace. I spend a lot of time in this section just to help students, so when they go into the working world or into the corporate sector, they're going to know how to cope with stress. And we use examinations as an example of how to actually put coping mechanisms into place. Your module 5, your interviews, it's questioned, or it comes up in paper 2. Your topic weighting is 15. And many of our learners have an understanding of an interview, but don't know how to answer questions, or the various types of questions that are asked during an interview. And this textbook outlines exactly what our learners will face during the interview process, which is fabulous because it's so important. What's brought into this is the common interview mistakes, for example, bias, rushing, the halo effect, lack of interview skills, and stereotyping. What's come in, which I love, is the new section with curriculum vitas and resumes. This is incredibly important. What they have taken out is the radio and television interviews. What you can do as a lecturer is you can actually have a look at online interviews. It's the same as face-to-face, except obviously it's online. But coping mechanisms in there, how to answer questions. A lot of the colleges have got exit programs that deal with this, but it's also important for us to make sure that we cover it in our classrooms with our students. Right, the language uses. An interesting thing that was mentioned when approaching industry about management assistant learners is that they indicated that the TVET graduates do not know the difference between formal and informal communication styles based on their ability to take minutes in the correct person. What also came out here is that a lot of our graduates, when sending emails, will use SMSing language. So instead of spelling out the word great, they would obviously have a GR and then the number 8. So we have to be very aware of the fact that we need to instill and highlight that our learners actually need to know how to use formal English language. In Module 7, the concise communication, I mentioned a little bit earlier, where I said to you as lecturers, please work closely with your IP lecturer when you're doing this section. I often say to the people who work with me that we need to work smarter, not hard. Both of these sections are covered in your communication, your concise, as well as in the information processing syllabus. So what would actually really work, and it has worked, I've tried it, is when you partner up with the information processing lecturers and you work your way around the section together. That way you solidify what the students actually need to know. So we're not only exam training, we're getting them ready for what to face in the outside world. What is great, and I'm extremely excited about this fact, is that in your forms, they've included the Z83 application forms and how to open a bank account, how to fill out an admissions to hospital, accidents and feedback forms, and extremely important, a waybill, especially for students who are going to go into becoming a personal assistant or an office manager. This is extremely important that they understand how to do this. We as lecturers tend to just skim over this section and hope for the best and do the easiest forms that we can with the students. But we don't realize that we're actually disadvantaging them when they are going to go into the business world. What's been included, questionnaires, and then electronic communication. This also goes hand in hand with what they are now doing in the computer practice syllabus as well. They are looking very, very much, I want to say, more in depth at the social media presence and things like MySpace, Facebook, websites, blogs. So it's very interesting. Or what is the other one called? A VOG, a video blog. It's very interesting. Under concise communication, thank goodness they have removed the archaic, outdated, no longer applicable information here. They've taken out the telegrams, the display advertisements, and the itineraries, but the itineraries are covered in the N6 information processing as well. So it's not like it's disappeared off the face of the earth. It's still going to be somewhere, but it will be covered specifically in the IP. Then in Module 8, under our business letters, they have removed cards and the format of a press release out of this section, which is a huge sigh of release for a lot of us. In Module 9, your meeting correspondence, what they have added is the notice and agenda and minutes of weekly meetings, the minutes of annual general meetings, and again, they've removed the cards and the format of the press release out of this section. Thank goodness. One thing I do want to just mention over here, that in your business and your meeting correspondence, the correct laying out and the correct use of language is now considered a scarce skill in the professional world. Many people are requesting colleges to do training on this because they are finding that the graduates aren't meeting up to the required standard. In Module 10, we now have, they've added the argumentative report, and they've got new sections, the evaluation reports and the reflective reports, which is great because they're going to be expected to do this once they hit the business world. And then critical evaluation of written, visual, and oral communication material. This is fantastic in giving them an idea of what is going to be done, specifically when their work is being edited or they need to assess what they're actually doing before presenting it to their supervisors. It's really good to just spend some time on critical evaluation of written, visual, and oral communication. Then the summary of the most important curriculum changes that have come about. All the learning outcomes have been renumbered. There are many new learning outcomes. There's very updated technology. It's in line with 4 and 5 RR when they come about. There's modern technology, electronic mass media has been brought in, social media, and the outdated content has been removed. So we are very thankful for that. So this particular communication textbook is 100% aligned with the syllabus. So even though we say that we teach from a syllabus, many of us teach from a textbook. So it's really encouraging and reassuring to know that this textbook is 100% in alignment with the curriculum. Each module in the book matches to each module of the new syllabus. So you are 100% assured that you are going to cover the work that is required. What I can tell you about the author is she is a fantastic, self-motivated, and really good person. When I asked her to give me a bio, one of the things that she said to me immediately was one of the nearest things to her heart has always been the students and to support the lecturers who she loves to equip and engage with. And as a lecturer herself, she understands exactly what the pressures are, as well as the rewards that are associated in communicating information correctly, efficiently, and precisely. And you can see the passion that she has for the subject in the way that she writes her books. So all in all, she has a very unique insight of what is expected of her because of where she comes from and what she's done. Particularly of things to take note of is the special features that are coming out in the Macmillan TVET First textbooks. There is completely new text. It's not just an update. It is literally being rewritten, and it is very modern. It's easy to read. It's user friendly. The book itself is easy to navigate, and it's got very accessible language. While we haven't dropped the standard of the language used, we've made it more accessible. And what I really enjoy about this book is that it's relevant to the workspace, modern society, and your personal life. I mean, the modules on coping with stress and with conflict are fantastic. They can be used by anybody to actually deal with what's happening in the world at a time like this. Each of the outcomes have an overview, so you know exactly what you are going to be dealing with in this particular module. The special features that come out, again, every single module starts with a starter activity. And what they do is they get the students engaged, they get them interactive, they get to build on and reflect on what they know, and then obviously apply scaffolding from moving from the known into the unknown. So it really solidifies what they know, and then it builds. And what I really enjoy is that the students are also given the opportunity to use their imagination in work-related scenarios. What I'm particularly proud of in this book is that the sample business letters are on point. They have been checked, they've been double-checked, they are exactly in line with, I hate to say this, but I am going to say this, examination requirements. They are on point. So we know that we don't have to say to them, remember your town and cities in capital letters, or this has to happen, or that has to happen. There are 32 different templates in the back of the book, which you can cross-reference to the letters that are actually in the book. So there is something that they can refer to, which helps a whole lot with the open book part of their examination. As I said, 32 letter templates. They are realistic. They are fantastic to use. There are how-to boxes going throughout the textbook that assist the learners with how to write a report, how to identify when you are being bullied, harassed, or discriminated against. And this often helps us as lecturers to identify when we're in that situation as well. And there are a total of 20 how-tos, which gives step-by-step instructions on what to do if you don't know what to do. So really good. This book is littered with examples. There's scenarios, there's case studies. These relate to a variety of work industries and life situations that they can be applied to, which is fantastic. The activities are interesting. I always say, if we as the lecturers are bored, can you imagine how bored our students are? So I enjoy color. I enjoy various ways of asking questions, and this textbook actually ticks all the boxes. There are lots of activities that are interspread throughout the text and can be done there and then in class or given as something to do for home or as exam preparation, which is fabulous. There are also special features that appear. There are tables that come right through the textbook, and it makes identifying situations a lot easier, and also it's more interesting. Your eye flows naturally when you are dealing with a table. There are diagrams right through. Your graphics are phenomenal and in color. What we have done is there is marked up text. So what we've taken is we've honestly just taken something that would be asked, for example, in the publishing world, and students then have to affect the changes. So what we did is we worked very closely with this section, and Ada and myself made sure that they speak to each other. Now, speaking to each other, the information processing, proofreader signs, and what is required by proofers. So this is exactly what they're going to see if they need to make changes to text in industry, which is great because we're really making sure that they're ready. The diagrams are very clear. They've got all the information that you need. There is explanations on how they relate to everything. So not only do they get a definition, but they also get a how it would relate to you in your situation in life right now. There are photographs right through the book, no longer emojis or little stick men. There are proper photographs, which also encourage the students because it's relatable. They understand and they link what they are learning to the workplace. So when they are in the workplace, they can identify with what is going on around them. The graphs, they are all there. Important information is displayed in important note boxes, so you can see it right through, which does help with the teaching and learning experience. What I particularly like is there are exam tips scattered through this textbook to make sure that you as a lecturer have covered important topics, and to give the students a heads up of what they are going to be facing at the end of year examination. The different words and terms when there's something new or there's a definition that needs to be brought out, it is clearly indicated in the book. You can see immediately when something new has come up. There are 15 definitions that are highlighted in special boxes, and there are words and terms that are explained in the margins as well. So it really makes the teaching and learning of the subject exciting. The infograms are in, which is also great, assists with the visual side of learning. What I love about this is that the publishers and marketers have made sure that everything is relevant to what we are dealing with in today's society. For example, if there are things that you as a lecturer don't portray or get across in an effective way, there is also things scattered through your textbook that will help you and your learners to see what happens in real life. So this textbook includes See It Online boxes, which contain search terms and links on activities that will just reinforce and assist in understanding concepts. And again, I'm going to say this is great for you as the lecturer as well as your student, because we are all learning, lifelong learning, and this is one way of ensuring that happens. There are case studies. One of the things that we absolutely hate to see, but there are case studies scattered throughout the textbook so that our students have got scenarios that they can apply understanding to. The different forms that are included are very relevant. As I said, for me, I was very excited to see there's a Z83 because especially in government institutions, if it is not completed properly, they do not pass begin. They hand in their CVs and that's the end of that. So at least we can now make sure that they know exactly how to fill something out My pet peeve with students is their ability to leave open spaces on a form. And I keep saying to the student, how am I supposed to know what your answer is here? And they say, no, well, it's open. But that's exactly what it is. It's open to interpretation. So whether you filled it in, maybe you don't know, so you didn't answer it. So the importance of completing everything, even if you have your NA not applicable written through it or a line drawn through it, at least shows that the student has engaged in the form and they are acknowledging the fact that this is not applicable to them. And surprisingly enough, I've actually seen that not being done in Z83s. They leave things open with nothing written in it, and I have seen people go afterwards and write information in. So it's important to tell them, leave no space unmarked. Right, at the end of every module, which is going to help you as the lecturer, because if you need to have an assessment, there is lots of summative assessments that are in this book that you can actually utilize, which makes your life of teaching so much easier and your assessment so much easier. These have been checked and double checked so that you are assured that they are in line with what they are going to be asked in the examination. So you can use them for revision. They are absolutely indispensable, especially for exam preparation, and they are modeled on the exam type of questions that the students can face when they sit down for their final exams. There is a subject index and a glossary that is very, very useful, especially if they can't remember where something is. It's always great to have a look at the subject index and go back and have a look. I'm just thinking of the open book textbook when you always see some poor soul digging through their textbook trying to find an example of a business letter. So this is going to eliminate the digging and assist with this is where it is. Very importantly, and something I don't understand, there is a comprehensive lecturer's guide that is going to make your life as the lecturer so much easier, because it's a curriculum mapping document. It's got the lesson plan templates involved. There's a 10-week teaching plan. There's teaching guidelines. There's extra web links that you can use. There's 2 class tests with the memoranda and analysis grids. Very important analysis grids. Oh, those things are a nightmare. There's a memorandum for your practice exam from the student book. So it really is making your teaching experience so much easier. In summary, we have highlighted the significant changes to the Communication N6 curriculum for 2021. What's actually going to be for 2022. And the TVET first book by A. Thorne is updated and improved, and it will help you as your lecturer and your students succeed with the new curriculum, and it will actually help them succeed much further into the future. I've always told my students, don't ever get rid of your communication textbooks or your communication files. And surprisingly enough, I still use both. And it's been 22 years that I'm still using them, obviously just updated. So everything that is a benefit for the TVET First Communication N6 textbook. It's the overviews that are in the beginning of every module. There's the starter activities that scaffold. There are very clear explanations. The examples are relevant, both to industry as well as to your examination requirements. There are summative assessments that have been worked out for you. There are diagrams and tables. There are clear photographs. There are definitions and keywords. There's modern technology and terminology used right through the book. There's a subject index and a comprehensive lecturer's guide that will make your teaching a pleasure. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to hand over to Gan.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for sharing your vast knowledge and expertise with our audience. I'm sure they've benefited vastly from this presentation, and they will be able to tackle all the changes that need to be implemented in January 2022. Lecturers, will now give you the opportunity to pose any question you'd like to Catherine around communication in 6. You're seeking clarification on any aspect of the syllabus, anything to do with today's presentation. Please just click on the hand icon under attendees, and then we'll give you the opportunity to pose your question. If you don't have any questions, you may just provide some feedback as well, so you can do that verbally. Just raise your hand and just let us know what you thought of today's session and how it's equipped you for teaching next year. RSA Gianni, please go ahead. Unmute yourself. Gianni, and you need to unmute yourself if you'd like to speak. Yes, you can.
Hi, everyone.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay, I just want to say thank you very much. The presentation was on point, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to join at 1 because I had another meeting. So I was able to join maybe like at 1:15. So I missed some of the things. Like when I joined, you were already on module 6. So will I be able to access everything, the entire presentation?
Thank you for your feedback. Yes, we will share the recording with you. I've got a list of all those that have registered for today's presentation, and I'm sure before the end of the day you'll get a link to the recording. So the entire presentation.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I'm going to give you another minute. And if we don't hear anything further, then we will close today's session. So we'll just give you another minute to compose your question or your thoughts and provide either feedback or a question to Catherine. Catherine, I'm not seeing any further hands up or any questions being posted, which would indicate that everyone's quite happy and they're not seeking any further assistance. So I'd just like to say thank you everyone for attending and making time. I'm sure you've benefited from today's session. And once again, Catherine, thanks for your time and thanks for a great presentation. So just some closing remarks from you.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I'd just like to encourage you that you are never alone. We are not islands. And we are here to support and to uplift each other. So keep your head held high. We'll get through this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.